Hi, and good morning, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Sunday morning to join me. I really appreciate it. If you guys didn't know, I recommend you get to know me. There's more than 870 videos just below you. And, well, I say that because today is my one and only work day. And so that went from 0 work days last month to now what will be my second work day today. So I'm very excited, personally speaking, and because of the whole sort of mood that is going on here at the apartment, me starting to work again, me starting to demonstrate my worthiness via ability to get a job, moreover, keep a job. So that's what I'm trying to do. And last night, my roommate and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about how sometimes people don't really recognize the dangers that befall upon us when we are at work. And in fact, that's kind of what I want to talk about today. How underrated work is, how underrated, truly, all laborious, lower middle class, low paying jobs are. And just kind of how I don't think a lot of people without the kind of experience that's required to either be aware of it at the very least, which requires a high amount of intellect, and moreover, through that experience, having gone through it one of themselves, like a person or whatever. And what I'm saying is that, all right, so for those people who've never had to have a job where they stand 8 hours a day for 40 hours a week for, let's say, more than a year, right? I'd say that there's a little bit of experience there, and that was kind of the whole conversation that we had. But I don't think the majority of people, especially high income earners, I don't think they really understand the kind of taxation it is on one's body to ask anybody to stand around for 8 hours. I mean, say that out loud, and I think it's kind of weird when we do say these things out loud because we all go out looking for jobs and we all want to make money and we all want to buy stuff. And moreover, I think even more important than that, we all just want to like survive first. And then we've been brought up in a world where anything after that is kind of up for grabs, and that's kind of what makes the free market what it is. But I'm saying that I don't think when we have these conversations, all right, so you go, you have an interview, you sign up for your job, but like, really, what did you just sign up for? I mean, studies and statistics show that having to stand for longer than a certain period of time each day without support for your back and your spine and from your feet going on up for your posture, that these things drastically impact your future health. And I feel like if you did math, if you did some basic math and we took low income wage earners and we took into account the added additional health costs that they will inevitably incur as a result of having to perform a task that the majority of people that dictate what goes on in society just simply have no idea what it's like to have gone through. And I feel like that's where experience kind of does matter, especially like when you're a politician or especially when you're a lobbyist or you're a neighborhood advocate or whatever it is, leadership role at work, a parasocial norm like relationship that you may have like in some kind of circumstance. All I'm saying is that it really is important to acknowledge just how dangerous basic work can be, and moreover, the difference between full time and part time. Okay, so part of being a social capitalist is recognizing once again that people innately have a drive for more, and that for this drive, one should be recognized via incentivization for doing or performing certain tasks. So I feel like if the standard is part time, and if at some point in the near future the government would like to subsidize or supplement one's entire income, like from a competitive standpoint, seeing as though if the government gave you $3,000 a month to live, but all you made was $3,000 a month after taxes before the government gave you that money, then again, like, would you be incentivized to work? I mean, I think so. I think people aren't going to want to just stop working. I just feel like you can cut that in half, add 50% of additional income to what's already a subsidized one or supplemented one from the government, and there you go. I mean, I think that's a good way to address those kinds of situations that people will try and throw at us as per an argument against UBI and so forth. But I feel like if you did the opposite, it would have more of an effect. Meaning, we should be all working part time. And if private and or corporate interests aren't like able to pay the kind of wages that it requires to work just a few hours a day instead of many hours a day, then that should be made up by the government. And it should, because asking somebody to stand up for 8 hours and do stuff for you, I mean, you think about that. Like, okay, sure, that can be done. Rich people do it all the time, for example, But moreover, that costs a lot of money. Like, if you placed a real value on what it would cost for a human being to just stand there for you, to be at your call to do the things you wanted them to do, I mean, this is outrageous. We're this is it can be pretty expensive. I mean, especially if we prioritize the idea or the simple fact that human labor is the most costly of all the labor costs, because it's that synchronized. It's that, being a human being is a pretty fancy in and of itself. So when you got other people utilizing what is just you or yourself, for the interests of themselves, I just feel like working part time would make everybody a whole lot happier, and it would in fact put a kind of vibe out there that is more natural than one predicated on the idea that we should at all even be asked that very question, because we're human beings that want stuff, that have drive, that have compassion, that want to make the world a better place. So it's sort of a weird question, because yeah, we're sentient homo sapiens. We don't mind. We can stand 8 hours a day. We can multitask, and we can perform many different functions at one time. And I mean, again, just compare ourselves to robots. What's the going rate for the Tesla first gen beta bot? I mean, like 40,000, and that thing can barely just do simple things. So I mean, a human being can do all different types of specialized tasks, all different types, and at really no cost of anything other than just kind of an opportunity, to have that chance, and then to ultimately understand that the only reason you're there is because you need that money to get by in life. Now, I just feel like it's too weird right now. Employers have too much control. Corporate America, private interests. We shouldn't be interested in working more. We should all be interested in working less and getting paid more to work less, because that is a formula of success. What isn't a formula for success is constantly exploiting people for everything that they potentially can be, and then incentivizing, essentially, the inability to incentivize any kind of upward mobile success as a result of having the same standard for everybody. That 8-day work week or whatever that they talk about back east, about how, like, that's how heavy their grind culture is. I'm trying to chill. I wish there were not 8 days in a week that one could work. And in fact, I really would like for people to consider the idea that working part time, even if you have many part time jobs, like, I feel like that's still better than having one full time job, whatever it is. I think full time work is insane in any kind of a way. Yeah, again, we all like to work, and it's different. When you're making 6 7 figures a year but you're working 16 hours a day, you can't sit here and tell me that isn't different than somebody who works 16 hours a day and still lives below the poverty line. I mean, there's a huge difference there. One gets rewarded financially. That's an incentive. They work 16 hours a day because they're the boss, and they're responsible for other people, and They get paid for that because they get paid a lot more than you do. And that should be what is the incentive to continue working like that. And if not, you just simply don't work that much. I mean, and you understand that the trade off and the cost for not grinding yourself at 16 hours a day if you're making a minimum wage is actually doing yourself a favor. Like, your body is important. You want to age well. I mean, when you're 50, don't you want to look like this? I'm not 50. I know that I look 50. I'm just trying to end the show on kind of a little happy note. I hope that you guys have a really good day. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the idea that working part time, and again, we didn't really get into how I think working a few part time jobs, in fact, is probably the best kind of experience one could have socially. And again, that doesn't sound too attractive to employers. I get it. An employer wants to keep you 40 hours a week, maybe 60, maybe 70 hours a week. Maybe you're on salary. Maybe you don't get paid for anything above 40 and you think you're killing it. I mean, putting in those 70-hour weeks for salary based pay for a year, I mean, do the math. You've made less than your lowest paid employee and you've done all that work. And you've been sold the idea that you've been rewarded for doing that work when in fact the incentivization and reward for you ended at 40 hours, buddy. You're better off being an hourly employee if you're going to work that many hours. Oh, but wait, you can't do that because companies know this and they don't want that, so they need to cap that. But then they also want you to work harder. They want you to stand for 16 hours a day without mats, without the proper pay, without health insurance. Holy man. I mean, again, don't these things sound crazy? I think that they should because they are, in and of themselves. No reasonable, prudent person would ask another individual out on the streets for this kind of thing. And if they did, they would understand that it's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, it'll cost you $100 for some rando to come do some yard work for you. I mean, we're willing to do that as private constituents and consumers, but we're not willing to collectively agree that paying somebody a lot more than what they currently earn for asking them to do what we ask them to do and they happily do is any more. We got to think about these things, and we got to really understand that our health is so much more valuable even at the lowest. I mean, our health is everything. That's what low income and working class people have going for them. Seriously, don't let people take that away. I mean, you have your health, and that should be something that we should all be so grateful to have if we have it, because there are so many unhealthy people. You feel me? Like, and that shouldn't even be. I don't like doing that, comparing one to something from not or whatever. It's just because we all have our issues and stuff. I just think it's important to be proactive in a world that is reactionary at best, and in fact, in some cases, encourage is the kind of negative behavior that ultimately only benefits the kinds of people that seek to take advantage of vulnerable situations where they can benefit financially from them, while we're all left sort of wondering if we're the bad people because we don't want to work 100-hour work weeks and not be with our families or not be with ourselves or not have time to just do nothing or sleep late. Or I mean, these things are important. Working 80 hours a week isn't, especially when you're not getting paid for that. I mean, if you got paid for your full double time base cap salary pay, you'd be rich. You feel me? I mean, for real, anything after 40, right? Time and a half. But like, how many people in leadership roles out there literally give tens of thousands of dollars in labor exchange time for free to companies that at the very best gaslight you into making you feel a type of way so that you can be compliant, so that in the case that you're not, you suddenly don't have an opportunity to be taken advantage of. I mean, that's what we're all fighting for, an opportunity to be taken advantage of. That's weird, I hope that you guys have a really good day again. It's gonna be pretty fun for me, I think. I'm looking forward to going in and working. The weather here is terrible, but that's all right. It actually is winter time. It's unfortunate that it's happening in the middle of January, but whatever, we'll take the cold weather as we can. I hope that you guys have a really good day, and thanks for watching my show. Bye!